He said, you can't come in here unaccompanied without a white person. He said, what? He said, you can't come in here without a white person. If you come in here, I know what you like. You steal, you guys cause trouble. You need to come in here with a white person. He asked him, who decides this? This is what the bosses have told me. Then Jordan, not knowing where Tabiso is, goes out and sees the bouncer re-explain this and says it to him again and says, it's not me who decides, it's the policy. Now, I'm sure if this had to get out, there's a lot more people that have experienced this.
It's a damn shame, the audacity of caucasity. This is in Cape Town, South Africa. There's more video.
This is firstly a crime. I'm not done speaking. When I'm done, I'll give you an opportunity. It's firstly a crime in this country. Do you know where you exist? You exist in South Africa, where we have a deeply painful history of. Secondly, this will blow up an institution like Hands. You're known. You're not somewhere in the middle of nowhere. You can't be doing this. You will become like cliques overnight. You have protesters outside your door. Let's see for the action. Good. So let's start with the apology. Look him in the eyes and apologize.
I'm deeply sorry about that.
I don't think you mean what you're saying.
How can you say it? You should be sorry with that.
You came in saying you've never had it before. You have a policy. Maybe you need to make a. This is what's going to happen, okay? I'm going to tell you. You've got a few options here. You decide to either try and make the situation right, deal with it in a serious way, or we're going to walk out the door, go to the police, go to the press, and make a storm out of this. And I will rededicate my life to dealing with this.
Way to go to the ally there. Very proud of obviously the advocacy and the relationship between both of the individuals. But here's the reality: it should not happen. That should not be a thing. South Africa, of all places, they ended up attacking the white male for his advocacy, his righteous defense of his friend. And then they released a statement. Let me read this statement. We as owners have never discriminated, nor will we ever instruct our staff to discriminate on any basis whatsoever, on the basis of gender, sexual orientation, or race. We want to place on record that we are extremely concerned for the well-being and safety of the staff involved. Therefore, we will not be commenting any further while we conduct an internal disciplinary process about these allegations and the police conduct their criminal investigation. Okay, let's put up the two friends. In a statement, they say an internal investigation is underway on the matter, but they also say a case of assault against both of them has now been opened. Wow. Racism is a global dynamic. Racism is a pervasive evil. So kudos to those who fight it wherever they see it. And it takes a lot of courage to advocate against evil, but we support you. All right, we'll continue to follow this story as it develops, all right? Okay, I got a question for everybody. What in the red state hell?
You can take a gun, shoot somebody in the face. It's not hard. Sometimes it might even be fun if they're a godless commie.
Now, what they're trying to do is sneak the COVID vaccine in your salads.
I hate math. Somebody say amen.
Herschel has said, he said in a book that he has multiple personality disorder, but he's beaten it, he's cured it. Doctors say that there's no cure to that. I'm talking about voting for somebody, sending them to Washington to be a senator with that malady. Does that give you pause at all?
No, not at all, not at all. I mean, I can't believe in Pennsylvania they voted for Fetterman, and he's a lot worse off. I can't believe they voted for Fetterman.
I'm a Bulldog fan. I've seen Herschel play twice, play Georgia Tech. 2 years in a row. And anybody that don't vote for Herschel should never be allowed to say, "Go Dogs" ever again.
So it's about the football for you.
No, it's about he's a man that believes the same way I do.
I've heard him speak several times. He's an incredible person. Yeah, he had some stumbles, and he addresses it, and he learned from it. And he says God uses him and built him from that. But I am 100% behind him.
The hell is going on? All right. Once again, obviously, Herschel Walker will not face any condemnation from those who are supporting him in the Republican Party as he is trying to become a United States Senator. Now, keep in mind, they said things like President Obama was the Antichrist. They call Raphael Warnock, the current US Senator, they say he is ungodly and not a man of the cloth. But Herschel Walker, he has some missteps, but he's overcome them. What's happening here? It's called indoctrination. This happens in a cult activity all the time. When a person is in a cult, what they tend to do is stretch their moral compass in order to never challenge the person they are actually supporting. So they don't have to worry about criticizing Herschel. They can just change their position at will, meaning they have no identifiable value system other than, as I said before, power. That's it, power. All right, that's it. Remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.
Universal health care, raising the minimum wage. If you want clean water, clean air, clean food, keep going. If you are a doer of the deed, I want you to stand up to your feet right now. We have courage enough, conviction enough, people power enough to stand up and do what is right for ourselves. I am unbought and unbought.
Welcome to Unbossed. I am so glad you are here today. We have a show for you, and I am extraordinarily excited. So excited that I will get out of my chair, but my producers would not like that. To have Francesca Fiorentini here. I have been waiting for her to come back. She has a new bundle of joy. I'm so happy for you and the family.
Thank you. Yes, just growing the armies as we must do for the future. Just kidding. No one's doing that. So happy to be with you, Senator Turner, here on Unbossed. This is my debut. This is the newest show on TYT. That intro was beautiful, soulful, inspiring. I'm excited, even though I know we have to talk about Ron DeSantis this hour. Which
I know. Oh my God. But yes, I'm telling you, every time I hear that intro, I think, man, what a privilege to have my own walk-on music.
Yes, yeah. Exactly. In stand-up comedy, they're always like, what's your walk-on song? And you're like, I don't know, what do I do? Like, In Vogue, is that gonna be too old school? Like, you never know, like when the beat drop, anyway.
No, I get it. I think whatever floats somebody's boat, for the most part, they should walk on. If it lifts their spirit and puts them in the groove, that should be their walk-on music.
Absolutely.
Today, yes, Francesca just really, she let us know we will be talking about DeSanctimonious. You guys know I love that name that Trump gave that brother. Also on today's show, first up, we'll be discussing Brittney Griner. We have some updates. She is facing horrific conditions in Russia, in the penal colony. And then, yes, Ron DeSanctimonious fails to realize the injustices within American society. This, I kid you not. Yeah, wait, I don't want to give it away. And finally, the king of neoliberals. You have to keep watching to find out who exactly that is. So we're gonna get into it. Brittney Griner update. So every single day on Unbossed, as you know, we talk about Brittney Griner. We remind you to lift her up, to lift her family up, how we must not relent. We have to keep pressure on to bring her home, to support her family on social media however you can. We know that there are some people working behind the scenes, both the government and others, working to try to bring her home. So we have an update. So the clock continues to tick as Brittney Griner suffers in a Russian penal colony. And for the love of all things good, please bring her home. Take a look at this headline: Brittney Griner facing terrible life at remote penal colony in Russia. So a description of a typical day and living conditions at that penal colony, as written by David in the Los Angeles Times. The inmates at IK2 penal colony rise at 6 a.m. each day for a breakfast of milk porridge, bread, and tea. Soon they leave their barracks at this aging facility about 300 miles southeast of Moscow in the isolated Republic of Mordovia. That is a typical day in the morning. And David goes on, the inmates or long days are spent in forced labor, working at sewing machines with only a short break for lunch. By nightfall, prisoners are fed dinner and allowed an hour or less of free time before going to sleep in dormitories crowded with scores of bunk beds. The routine reportedly can stretch for weeks on end with no days off. And then it is unclear, the reporting goes on, it is unclear if one of the newest arrivals, American basketball star Brittney Griner, will take part in this strict regimen or receive special treatment. But experts familiar with the criminal justice system in Russia paint a worrisome picture. I cringe to even call it any type of justice at all, Francesca.
No, absolutely, it's not. And what's so important to remember is that this is a penal colony where people are sentenced for the same kinds of minor crimes or non-existent crimes that Brittney herself was sentenced for. So there is a lot of solidarity, and this has to be an understanding of what happens under a totalitarian type government that does not care about the most minor infractions. And yes, the United States has its own completely unjust criminal justice system in heavy quotation marks. But this is the future that Republicans want for this country. They want, a little bit of hash oil in your in a vape pen. Oh, go to a penal colony. We'll get some free labor out of you, right? We have to remember that they idolize someone like Vladimir Putin for these kinds of policies. So I'm sure Brittney's in there with other people who have, I don't know, stolen a loaf of bread, spoken out about Vladimir Putin, right? Like small things like that. But I know you've talked about this, but you cannot talk about this story without imagining what would happen if LeBron were in a penal colony, right? Like if a male NBA player, if a white prisoner, if a male prisoner, just all the different permutations of privilege that would enable someone to probably get out of this situation a lot faster than Griner is.
No, you are exactly right. And yes, as we have talked about this story time and time again, we remind our viewers that one of the reasons why she went to Russia anyway is because of the income disparity between NBA players and WNBA players, forcing our women players to go overseas to try to make extra money. One of the reasons why she is there. And we have a university professor from Texas weighing in on the conditions that are there. And let's put up what she had to say. And Professor Marina, she said her life will be very difficult. It will be terrible. And she is an expert on the Russia prison system. Now, among Russia's hundreds of prisons, the 21 facilities clustered in Mordovia are especially notorious. Russia Behind Bars, a humanitarian group based in Moscow, alleges that labor conditions at the IK2 violate national law. Medical care is limited and substandard food provides little substance, especially during long, cold or sustenance, especially during long, cold winters. So this is really a sad situation, and we are going to continue to update you on what is happening to Brittney Griner. Again, you can show your support. It doesn't take a whole lot. The family has asked, and they asked this months ago, that if you utilize social media, #WeAreBG, that is WeAreBG. We will continue to let you know every single day what is happening to Brittney Griner. Let's bring her home. Now we're on to your story, Francesca. DeSantis lawyer's definition of woke. Do you remember when DeSantis said this? Watch.
We reject woke ideology. We fight the woke in the legislature. We fight the woke in the schools. We fight the woke in the corporations. We will never, ever surrender to the woke mob. Florida is where woke goes to die.
The woke mob. So nothing about how he shipped immigrants to Martha's Vineyard and wasted taxpayers' dollars in Florida, but that woke mob, he definitely wants to stop. Now that was DeSantis after he got reelected in the past midterms. This all stemmed from DeSantis' Anti-Woke Act, which he proposed in December of 2021 and signed into law in April of this year. This headline: Governor Ron DeSantis signs legislation to protect Floridians from discrimination and woke indoctrination. So this legislation obviously and rightfully was met with a backlash. Ron DeSantis faces Florida lawsuit over anti-woke law. Or how about this headline? Positively dystopian. Florida judge blocks DeSantis anti-woke law for colleges. A judge determined policies from the law violate the First Amendment free speech protections, along with due process rights in the 14th Amendment on college campuses. This guy has so much more, Francesca, that he could be doing to make sure that the lives of people who live, work, and play in Florida are enhanced. But oh no, he's going on a rampage against wokeness.
I mean, look, I don't know what you hear when you hear we're gonna fight the woke, we're anti-woke. Florida is where woke goes to die. I hear people of color. I hear immigrants. I hear Black Americans. I hear undocumented people. I hear But specifically, I just hear like people of color. Like basically he's saying, and I think of the, Black Floridians, Latinos living in Florida, like, what are you saying? That they go there to die? Because that's effectively what it is. It is shorthand. It is the same way that in the 80s and 90s, you say thug and you mean black person. You say gangbanger and you mean black person. Now it's just woke. It's even broader, but it's civil rights. It's like we stand against civil rights. We stand against equality and we stand against any amount of justice. So just say what you mean. And I know we're gonna get on because they were forced to say what they meant, but I think it's really important and it's interesting that a judge struck that down on college campuses saying, no, you're literally limiting free speech by preventing people from talking about inequality, civil rights, histories of this very country we live in. So at least there's a small win there.
Definitely a small win. This man is delusional. How he got reelected, God only knows. I mean, Democrats, well, anyway, I won't even go down that rabbit hole.
We know what happened.
Yeah, we know exactly what happened. So let me not even pretend that I don't. But thank God, you're right. A small glimmer, a light at the end of this tunnel. But it was during the trial of suspended Hillsborough County State Attorney Andrew Warren, who DeSantis claims defied his anti-abortion stance, that attorneys for DeSantis were asked to define woke. And here it is. During the 3-day trial this week challenging Governor Ron DeSantis' suspension of Hillsborough County State Attorney Andrew Warren, attorneys for Warren were able to put the question to aides for DeSantis, who called Florida the place where, quote, woke goes to die, end quote, in his victory speech after being reelected last month.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what they had to say. To me, it means someone who believes that there are systemic injustices in the criminal justice system, and on that basis, they can decline to fully enforce and uphold the law. It would be the belief that there are systemic injustices in American society and the need to address them. Good God Almighty, Francesca, the truth comes out. And the fact that you are dealing with a governor of a state in the United States of America who believes that all the systemic failures of this nation based on race in particular are over. The man should not be anywhere near this kind of power if he believes that all of the felons of this country have been fixed. I mean, Francesca, one of the reasons he doesn't want anybody talking about wokeness is because he doesn't want people to know. It's revisionist history, is what I say.
Totally, and it's interesting that when push comes to shove, notice how the words race are absent from that definition, because DeSantis is one of those Republicans that's still trying to code their language, and woke is a word that just again codes. When they actually want to say, we are trying to defend white lives, supposedly, which are supposedly under attack, and white people are the victim. That's effectively what they're saying. That's what the crowd is cheering for. But in the court of law, they can't say that. So instead, they zoom out and they give this really broad description. Anyone who thinks there are systemic injustices, and you're like, well, I'm pretty sure anyone, no matter what color they are, thinks there are systemic injustices in this country. So like, what are you really talking about? Because you could talk about working class people or people who can't get healthcare, poor folks or whatever, can't find a job. That's a systemic injustice and nothing to do with where you're from or your histories of racism in this country. So it's like, it's funny how they shy away from the real definition that we all know they mean. And they give that broad definition, which as you pointed out, is so ridiculous in the first place.
No, it really is. And Newman added, so this wasn't it. Let's go on to what he added. Newman added that DeSantis doesn't believe there are systemic injustices in the United States. You know what? He would. He also emphasized he believed Warren's wokeism led him to sign the pledge not to prosecute abortion crimes, the primary factor that led to his suspension. Why? Because Warren had a consciousness? Is that what it was, Governor? And you lack one? I mean, it's very convenient for him not to believe that there are any systemic failures white man in America, not believing that there are any systemic failures in this system in the United States of America. So I know that the sanctimonious is full of it, but we need to check him anyway. And here is a breakdown by the Human Rights Watch of injustices that US lags behind in, just in case this governor needs to be reminded. The United States continues to fail to fulfill its human rights commitments, most notably in the area of racial justice, as reflected in the country's failure to end systemic racism linked to the legacies of slavery, right? Abusive structures of incarceration, immigration enforcement, everything you just said, Francesca, and social control affecting many racial and ethnic minorities, and the black-white wealth gap that persists alongside an overall slight increase in economic inequality, which has been going on since the inception of this country. So Governor Ron DeSantis, just in case you didn't get a clue, we're gonna bold this, underline it, put an exclamation point, put a message in a bottle, and send it to you on a train, because you need help. I mean, this brother needs a whole lot of help. He really does.
No, it's amazing how you're like, I don't see injustice from my ivory tower of privilege. Like, of course you wouldn't, because things are good for you.
That's right. That's it. They're good for him. And I would be sitting here actually all week long if we broke down the injustices across the country. But let's just look at Florida itself. Again, Governor, this is for you. Florida's voter fraud arrests are scaring away formerly incarcerated voters. DeSantis made a spectacle of arresting voters with felony convictions. Now some eligible voters are opting out of midterms, even beyond Florida. Some of you may be old enough to remember that there was a vote in the state of Florida to give returning citizens the opportunity to be able to vote in Florida. The people of Florida overwhelmingly voted for that. And this governor and that legislature found a way to taint that and to take that away. And let's take a look at this heartbreaking statistic. More than half, 56% of Florida's 4 million children are living in or near poverty, or in households that are one missed paycheck or lost job away from affording basic needs. Nearly 2 in 10, or 17% of Florida's children live below the federal poverty line, which means earning less than $26,000 and some change per year for a family of 4, ranking Florida as the 35th among the other states. The majority of these children, 71%, are Black or Latinx. And even if they were white or any other ethnic group, it would be the same thing. Governor, check yourself, baby, before you wreck yourself. You are a problem. Florida, please do not. This man got to go, Florida. Do us a favor in the United States of America. Y'all need to wake up, because this governor ain't woke at all. We'll be right back after this.
Welcome to the Damage Report. I'm John Idarola. This is gonna be a big one.
Meanwhile, in the Arctic, you know where this is going. You watch the Damage Report, the Arctic's on fire. Obviously, why would we be talking about the Arctic except to tell you that it's melting once again? The Republicans aren't that interested in it. I wonder why. Lift out of poverty up to 3.7 million people, including an estimated 1.3 million children. Hashtag save the children? Not if it costs money. I mean, come on.
What's happening? I'm Dr. Rashad Richey, host of Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey. Here's the bottom line. I play no games about policy, period. Too many people's lives are at stake. So here's what I do. I challenge conservative ideology that hinders the growth of this country. I make sure we place our facts in proper context, and I have no problem debating anyone on a position that I have. Progressives have the ideas to change the world, but when you really look at it, progressives have always changed this world for the better. I want you to tune into my new show, Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey, right here on the TYT Network, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Time. I'll see you there.
Everything that we've accomplished over the years is because of our members who've allowed us to remain independent of corporate interests and reach 20 million followers. Now is the time to bring as many people into the progressive movement as possible. We're inviting you to be the change and help bring a community-powered progressive change machine to life. Details are at tyt.com/change. If you're a member, thank you. We need you to remain so. If you're one of the thousands of viewers out there who's not a member yet, the time has come for you to join now. We need you more than ever. tyt.com/change.
Welcome back to the show, my absolute favorite part. I'm so glad we get to do this at 2 points in the show. And here's point number 1. TYT member, tall glass of shut up juice. Oh my God, I love these names. Tall glass of shut up juice says, 2 of my favorite ladies bringing me news and current events with 3 beautiful hearts. Thank you so much. Isn't that sweet, Francesca?
So
Tall
sweet.
glass of shut up. We appreciate you, baby.
I know. I was like, that's not for us.
No, not for us.
We get the talk more juice.
Talk more juice, absolutely. And on Twitch, Overseer Dixon. Hey, Overseer Dixon. Overseer Dixon is a regular. Sending you love, baby. Says, oh, hell yeah. It's unbossed time once again. My favorite time of the day. Keep fighting. Love you both. And we are sending that love back to you, Overseer Dixon. And then we have Omega says, bold it, underline it, put an exclamation point and a message in the bottle needs to be on the shift already. On the shirt, I'm sorry, on the shirt already. Thank you so much for that, Omega. Yes, Marissa has said the same thing. One of our producers, she believes the same thing. We're gonna work on that. We're gonna work on getting that on the t-shirt, baby. Yes, we are. And then on YouTube Super Chat, Parker says, yay, Francesca and Nina, let's go! Exclamation points with fire and heart. Yes, we received that. We are fiery and we got a whole lot of love. Loving on all of you for tuning in with us today. We really appreciate your support of Unbossed and TYT Network. We could not do what we do without you, boo. So we love you. Speaking of love, again, hashtag we are BG, we are BG. We must continue to lift and support Brittney Griner, bring her home. And do not forget about our sisters and brothers and family and friends in Jackson, Mississippi. Go to tyt.com/relief. That is tyt.com/relief. So the Dems sold out the rail workers. As you know, here at Unbossed, we have been rolling with this story since the beginning. And I am still hot about it. I gotta get that fire extinguisher. I don't have it yet, but baby, I'm gonna get one. So we must never forget. And this betrayal of the rail workers is not one and done. It will have an impact for decades on not just the rail workers, but all other workers in this country. This is a moment that workers must unite, all for one and one for all. They're coming for the rail workers, it'll be you next time. This has sent a signal to the oligarchs that the federal government and in control of Democrats will come for workers and do the bidding of their owner donors. There is no other way, sisters and brothers and family and friends, to describe what the Democrats who are in control of the Senate, in control of the House, and in control of the presidency, how they have betrayed workers. Yes, they have. And we will not let the Republicans off the hook either, baby. They are in the betrayal line as well. But the folks who are in full control in this moment are the Democrats. Let's put up this headline, this fantastic reporting by David Sirota of The Lever. Dems could have helped rail workers by doing nothing. Lawmakers could have stayed out of the rail dispute, but they chose to help rail barons by intervening. And that's what David means by that. They could have done nothing like they usually do and let the workers use their leverage. And their leverage was to be able to strike. But oh no, oh no, oh no, oh hell no. They could not do that. They had to dip in here in a way that hurts the workers. So let's look at how David Sirota lays this out. Shall we? Yes, we shall. Come with me. In most political battles against abusive corporations, workers need politicians to take action. But in this week's, meaning last week's, skirmish over the nation's rail system, workers merely needed Democrats to perform the one task they're usually best at, doing absolutely nothing. But the party's Washington lawmakers are so owned. Let me read that one more time. Now, y'all know this is an underlined, bold exclamation point. Put it in a message in a bottle moment. But the party's Washington lawmakers are so owned, they refuse to even do that. What is that? Nothing, like they usually do. They are owned indeed. And Sirota goes deeper in his explanation of what happened. Lost in the congressional machinations, the corporate punditry, and the partisan cheerleading was a simple fact. Railroad executives, not rail workers, were the ones desperate for congressional legislation to prevent a work stoppage, preserve their skyrocketing profits, and protect their inhumane precision schedule business model. Those executives needed President Joe Biden and congressional lawmakers to affirmatively invoke an ancient strike-busting law that would force workers to toll without appropriate paid sick leave. Francesca, I'm gonna bring you in on here. I cannot wrap my mind around, I cannot understand, I will never understand, and I will not accept this, what just happened to these rail workers, and how anybody on God's green earth can think it is okay for workers not to be able to have paid sick time and also family leave. This is cruel and unusual punishment. And while the United States is always pointing its finger at somebody else, we ought to get the mote out of our own damn eye before we go pointing our fingers at somebody else.
Absolutely. I mean, is American exceptionalism dead yet? Guys, can we just put that final nail in the coffin? Because we are only exceptional in how much we say that we're amazing, but fail to live up to being even just mediocre. I think that's what this whole thing has proven. But I've been trying to find my way around this story, be like, okay, there was something, there must have been some reason why they had to do the way they did. No, there wasn't. In fact, and Sirota's right. What could have happened is the federal government could have just stayed out of it. Just stay out of it. Don't invoke the Railway Labor Act, which is arcane, which has it's way too much control over one industry specifically, designed to basically allow like railway barons, like Warren Buffett, who is supposedly a liberal, but no, he's just a rich guy, just like just like richies are around the country. He wants to get his profit. They could have done nothing. But instead, they decided to intervene. So he's absolutely right about that. And what should have happened is they let it play out. Let the workers go on strike. Let the bosses feel the pressure. Let strikes do what strikes do, which is bring the bosses to the negotiating table and actually come to an agreement. Stop getting in the way of that, right? And it's so sad that push comes to shove, and it is status quo, Joe. Right? Like this isn't the most pro-labor president because when he has an opportunity to show up, he doesn't. Yes, the NLRB has done some good things. Yes, they have, let's say, required Amazon to now apologize to JFK 8 workers at ALU, which I think is amazing. They're like, oh, we can't retaliate. There's small wins around Starbucks, around Amazon. But when it's the railways, when it might make my administration look bad because it'll stop goods from getting to people and there might be an economic downturn, then people are gonna blame me. No, then I will not stick my neck out at all.
No, not at all. And don't forget, during the 2020 primary, Mr. Biden at the time stood up before some donors and said nothing will fundamentally change for you. And he meant that. He delivered on that with this railway intervention. David Sirota goes on to say, because it was capital, not labor, that needed government action. The Democrats who control the government had all the leverage to secure a rare win for the union workers who they purport to represent. Let's take a look at this tweet from the lever. Democrats passed the strike-breaking bill for their rail industry donors, who I call owner donors, with the kind of discipline, purpose, and acridity that the party has never mustered for long promise, but still languishing initiatives such as the $15 minimum wage and the PRO Act. David hits the nail on the head right there. Where is all this smoke for the things that would actually lift working people in this country? Y'all don't have it, but with laser precision, y'all did all of this mischief. And the resolution to the problem is very simple. Let's see what my stunt double had to say about that. She weighed in here. It's simple, side with the workers. And on the Vice headline, motherboard, more than 500 labor historians condemn Biden's intervention in freight rail dispute. Even the historians, now I gotta tell y'all something, when the historians got to get involved, you know it's bad.
Right.
You know, Francesca, we are in trouble when historians start jumping into the fight and they condemn. Condemn is a very strong word. And it is encouraging though, Francesca, the rail workers are still at it. They have a fund, they have put up a GoFundMe to be able to fund and help rail workers. Let's put that up. Special bulletin, Rail Workers United announces fundraising campaign. By giving to RW, you become a steward of fairness and decency on the railroads, which are so crucial to the supply chain. Join our struggle and please donate today. Thank you. So please, 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 if you can, go and help them. They need our help. And that is one of the best ways that we can show solidarity with them, is to help them. And as David Sirota goes on to further remind us that this does not have to be the final chapter in this. And so he put out this tweet today, a reminder to at AOC, at Jamal Bowman, New York, at Pramila Jayapal, and all of the United States progressives, that caucus, that progressive caucus, which is a joke, but I digress. I was thinking that and I said it out loud. You could demand Democratic leaders add language into the must-pass end of the year spending bill that provides 6 sick days to rail workers. Biden could also do it in an executive order. So what Francesca and I want all of you to know, that this does not have to end this way, that the power is there for this Congress and this president to do something different, that progressives can leverage their power and stop letting President Joe Manchin have all the fun. Leverage your power in this must pass end of the year bill and get those sick days in there for those rail workers. Please, for the love of God, do that. And y'all know I want to bold that, underline it, exclamation point, and message in the bottle. Do something for the rail workers and not just your owner donors. All right, coal miners are still striking. They're striking too, and they've kind of been left out, so we're bringing them back here on Unbossed. We talked about them before. They are still there. 600 days and counting. Alabama coal miners have spent 600 days on strike. That is approximately 20 months. Now, all of you know that when workers go on strike, they don't get paid. This is really hard. When workers take this position, they are making a sacrifice of epic proportions for them as individuals and also for their families, but also for future workers who will come behind them in these professions. Let's put up this headline. Alabama coal miners began their 20th month on strike. That's well past the 6-week average for strikers. The miners believe it is the longest strike in Alabama's history. And they are striking for, what are they striking for? I'm glad you asked. Fair wages, better health benefits, time off benefits. Francesca, it's the same story. We could write it for any worker. It is the same story. Benefits, work conditions, and wages.
Well, I mean, and the coal miners' strike is particularly interesting to me because as people who believe that we need climate action now, we are constantly told, no, stop pitting yourselves against the workers. Do you hate coal miners? Wow, think of the coal miners. And first of all, let's leave aside the fact that like coal mining jobs are few and far between. There's not more to mine, to be honest with you. Anyone will tell you that. But the miners who do remain are being treated like, yesterday's compost, right? They're not being treated with respect. So here you have these workers, and what Republican has spoken out in favor of them, right? When have you heard someone like Joe Manchin in the mining state of West Virginia speak out on behalf of the coal mine? No. Republicans will prop them up and use them when they need to use them, which is only to hit back at any kind of climate legislation. But then when they actually want real benefits and they want to work with dignity, no, they're nowhere to be found. And so I think, again, we need to cut across these like Democrat Republican lines and understand that it is about workers against bosses, against people who, against the 1%, let's bring it back. Let's never forget the 99% that we are. And if we need to continue to frame things like that.
That's it. It is the have versus the have-nots, plain and simple. There is no middle ground here. The middle class has been crushed. And when you have coal miners, and your point, Francesca, about how they, laud the coal miners as they should, but when it comes down to really helping them be able to enhance their quality of life, they are nowhere to be found. Now, out of the 900 miners who started the strike a year and a half ago, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, 500 remain, according to the United Mine Workers of America. They stick with a classic union catchphrase. They'll last one day longer than the company. Come on, y'all, come through. Yes. I mean, it takes a lot. I mean, a year and a half and 500 folks are still standing strong. My God, again, we cannot emphasize this enough. It is a burden. You do not get paid. You do not get benefits. You don't even know if you're going to win when you go out on strike. This is courageous as heaven and hell for these workers to do this. We will outlast, come on, the company one day longer. So Warrior Meth has also remained resolute with negotiations stagnant. The mines have kept operating and earning the company millions in profits. That's why they continue to be resolute. So how do the miners survive the strike? I'm so glad that you asked that, because if there's one group of American workers used to labor battles, it is the miners. So the miners come together as a community and they take care of each other. We need all working class people to do that, all labor unions to do that. Let's take a look at this. Every 2 weeks, the striking miners rally outside of a local union hall in Brookwood before shuffling inside to pick up $800 checks. God bless them. And that's not even enough, but God bless them for having that. Around the 1 year mark, the United Mine Workers of America said it had given out $20 million to its workers. Thank you, NPR, for this reporting. Hello, somebody on that. They come together. And then union dues collected from miners across the country have been bolstered by donations from other unions and individuals. Together, they built up a war chest that could enable the strikers to remain on the picket line for years. Woo! Now, This is a good underline, bold, underscore message in a bottle, baby. Yes, this right here. Y'all better go ahead and follow the miners' lead on this. They leading this. So those strike checks are helping the miners be able to stay in this fight. Strike checks is how I'm making it. There's no doubt. This is what one miner said. No doubt. That is what the strikes. That's what the strike checks are. Brian Kelly from Local 245, the president, said that. And the community stands behind the strikers, offering donations and jobs. And that's what it is. The whole notion that we are all in this together. Locals are helping the miners out, whether by keeping the local food pantry stocked, providing backpacks for school, or toys as Christmas approaches. Francesca,
you'd love to see it. I mean,
yeah.
This is what solidarity is, and we don't have a lot of moments to point to, especially since the pandemic, when it was like, oh, we're all on our own, bye-bye, like, right? And so then here you're struck by these miners and their communities, and they are proving what I think we have forgotten in this country, which is the importance of a union and why dues matter and why actually having a union matters. It creates that kind of community that you're now seeing show up, but also it creates literal money. And so what corporations and bosses will fearmonger around is, why are you paying these dues? You don't need a middleman. Look, they're taking off your check. And they'll fearmonger around taxes. It's like, yeah, there's people pay taxes for a reason, right? We pay union dues for a reason. And that is when these owners want to get one over on us and want to not give us, we haven't had a raise in however many years. Then we can rely on that war chest, to actually bolster us and to help us. And so again, let's not be, propagandized in the way where it's like, it's all the union leadership. Honestly, union leadership, yes, sometimes they fail. Sometimes they try to, they make deals that workers are not on board with. But also, it's a hard job, and they are like a stalwart, right? They're there for a reason. There's an institutional union structure for a reason, and you're seeing it in these moments of striking.
Yeah, we are seeing it. This is a beautiful, it's beautiful in that the coal workers, the coal miners have the infrastructure necessary to outlast the bosses, and they are angry, and they have every right to be angry. They're holding out on us on purpose and not giving us the contracts we deserve. I think it's evil, purely evil. And that's coming from a striking Alabama coal miner. And it is evil. And they are doing it on purpose. But let's hope that these workers continue to be able to be out there. Please make sure you donate to them as well. But typically the goal of strike is to put the pressure on the employer. But that's not the case for Warrior Met Coal. They are holding out. And thank God Almighty that Congress didn't get involved in this and mess with these workers. And then just one more, I want to put up a tweet from Kim Kelly. And these reporters like Kim Kelly have been out there holding up this story. The amount of quote tweets on this saying, why isn't anyone covering this? Is making my head explode. Some of us have been covering it for the entire 20 months. Instead of parachuting in once and ignoring the women who kept this strike alive. You better go ahead and say that, Kim Kelly. And that's why we're highlighting right now. Thank you so much for keeping it alive. And we are going to tag in with you here on Unbossed and keep it alive as well. We'll be right back. Don't you go anywhere. Stay right there.
Cenk Uygur is not here today, which means that I will be able to talk during the show.
We'll see.
Poor Cenk, under the bus.
My God, if Jesus came back, how much would the Republicans hate him? Now you have to give away all of your possessions to the poor. Steve King would be like, oh, Weezy. Everyone should be lucky enough to have a John Iadarola in their life.
You confused everyone?
Okay, sorry, I thought it was pretty clear.
Take a break now.
You can turn me to Dr. Manhattan as long as I get what Dr. Manhattan's packing, okay?
The liberal mom says, Mark Thompson, have you ever thought about doing one of those tapes that soothe people to sleep? Like Mark Thompson reads the phone book. I'd buy it.
If you'll buy it, I'll do it.
Emilio D'Amelio writes in, John, you are so thick. I love you. That's what he wrote.
Pork Chop Express writes in and says John Iadarola needs a new jacket.
Whoa.
Those 24-inch pythons are about to burst out of his sleeve.
Gun, baby. You know, the two people here said that their moms were both in love with you over Beauty and the Beast.
Mm-hmm. That's an improvement. I usually get grandmothers.
Charlie Turk.
No, wait a minute, don't you dare.
Chemical castration when we return from the break.
I hope that, who they choose for the White House isn't just a borderline Klansman. That's all we gotta hope.
That's it, we will settle it.
She's cute. I didn't say that about Laura Ingraham.
Scandal at TYT. Did Anna comment on my tan yet? No, she hasn't.
You're a good bosser.
But Anna did say that I come in here today with a fresh mind. That's all I'm about. I'm about a fresh mind.
I can't with you right now. Okay?
She just can't. She can't, but nonetheless, we have to for another 3 hours. I'm back, baby. Let's rip into Republicans. See, don't miss the live show.
That's great.
Tell people, if you're a member, you get the whole live show whenever you want, because this stuff doesn't go into any of the clips.
Welcome to the Damage Report. I'm John Iadarola. This is gonna be a big one.
Meanwhile, in the Arctic, you know where this is going. You watch the Damage Report, the Arctic's on fire. Obviously, why would we be talking about the Arctic except to tell you that it's melting once again? The Republicans aren't that interested in it. I wonder why. Lift out of poverty up to 3.7 million people, including an estimated 1.3 million children. Hashtag save the children? Not if it costs money. I mean, come on.
What's happening? I'm Dr. Rashad Richey, host of Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey. Here's the bottom line. I play no games about policy, period. Too many people's lives are at stake. So here's what I do. I challenge conservative ideology that hinders the growth of this country. I make sure we place our facts in proper context, and I have no problem debating anyone on a position that I have. Progressives have the ideas to change the world, but when you really look at it, progressives have always changed this world for the better. I want you to tune into my new show, Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey, right here on the TYT network, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific time. I'll see you there. All right, here's the thing. Senate runoff, state of Georgia, kind of a big deal. Make sure you tune in right here because we will bring you live election coverage. Senator Raphael Warnock in a runoff now with Republican nominee Herschel Walker. Balance of power, yes, but also we will provide live coverage of the Georgia Senate runoff beginning at 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific time, right here at tyt.com/live.
And welcome back. Second half of our viewer comments. Thank you all so very much. And we'll have Francesca talk about the habituation room too. Let's get to the comments and we're gonna get to Francesca right after that. I'm out of here says, so glad to see Franny back. Whole bunch of exclamation points. I've been anticipating your return to TYT. We missed you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, I missed you too. And on Twitch, Dory says, Nina and Fran are the dynamic duo. Thank you for bringing these important stories to us with wisdom and humor. You're welcome.
Anytime.
And on YouTube Super Chat, Mr. Anderson says, now Mr. Anderson, did you take this name from the Matrix? Because that's what this reminds me of. I'm gonna take, yeah. Mr. Anderson says, what we have is socialism for the rich and capitalism for the poor. You better say that, baby. All types of socialism for the rich without hesitation. That is what we have in this country. Francesca, the habituation room, talk to us.
Thank you so much. Yes, it's a podcast, it's a live stream. It's on the TYT Network's podcast network. That made sense. Comedians, experts, every single Tuesday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. I understand that it's the same time as Unbossed. So what I want you to do is just go back and forth between them. Just have two tabs open and watch them at the same time. Yes, Habituation Room, guys. Catch me tomorrow, catch me anytime, listen as a podcast. Thank you so much.
Yes, catch her and definitely toggle between the two. Or I understand on Tuesdays if you have to catch Unbossed recorded. That'd be the only exception I would make. But yeah, definitely toggle between the two.
Also on Wednesdays, I have the Twitchuation Room, which is also right after Unbossed. So that's just an hour on the TYT Twitch network. Don't miss.
So maybe Francesca can join you on that one since it's
oh my God, that'd be great. I love that.
You could do that. Yeah.
That one gets weird.
Ooh, okay.
I mean, we just kind of hang out. It gets weird.
We just hang, okay.
Yeah.
I might need a little weirdness in my life. I'm gonna test it out, see what happens.
Good. I would love that.
I would love that as well. Oh, Joe Manchin has got me saying, WTF, neoliberal with a sigh.
We will now kneel.
Miss Cinema, no.
You have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
Yeah. West Virginia, come get your man. Really, please, for the love of God, do that. I've been calling on God a lot in this show right now today. This is this kind of day for me on a Monday. So let's get into this. This morning, a coalition of environmentalists, public health campaigners, and progressive advocacy organizations issued a warning to Schumer and to Nancy Pelosi, urging them to keep out Joe Manchin's dirty deal in the military spending bill this month. The letter was signed by more than 750 groups. And we're scrolling those groups right now, 750 of them. Yeah, they're saying, do not let this man, do not let him put his nonsense, his foolishness and mayhem, to quote one of my friends, in this legislation. Don't let him do it. But remember, Manchin was originally stopped, but he is at it again. So he kept out a must-pass stoppage funding bill in September. The permitting reform package is the darling of Senator Joe Manchin, who has tried to force the proposal through on several occasions as part of his agreement earlier this year to support the watered down Inflation Reduction Act. And it was watered down indeed, that passed both chambers of Congress and was signed into law by President Joe Biden. That is coming from reporting from Common Dreams. Thank you, John, so much. But now he is trying to sneak this back in because he's sneaky like that. Since its earlier defeats, Manchin now wants to use the National Defense Authorization Act to force it through, despite widespread opposition from experts, critics, most members of his own Democratic Party, and outside campaigners. It's debatable whether most of the members of his own Democratic Party, I don't know, friend. I see you shaking your head, so just jump in.
I mean, I don't even understand why this is still a conversation, and I hope no Democrat is entertaining actually adding this in. They do not owe Joe Manchin anything. They successfully kept this out of the IRA legislation, and so it's done. It's a done deal, bro. Like, you lost on this, and I'm so wary of people like Chuck Schumer and wondering, like, what did he promise Manchin down the line? How did they, like, get him to go along? Did they promise him something else, even though this wasn't included? And again, this is all making it easier for fossil fuel projects to go through, to make it easier for companies to have, like, just green light all their exploitation, their projects, right? Well, the reality is that they already have gas leases ready to go, natural gas and oil leases ready to go right now, and they're not moving forward on them. Why? Oh, because scarcity helps their bottom line. If they don't drill more, right, then they can charge more at the pump. We understand that this is how it's working, and Joe Biden's even called them out on it. I mean, very, very lightly and after a while, but he's called them out on it. Now, I'll say, I'm happy they're leaving the oil in the ground, but it's not, none of it actually is because they care about consumers. None of it's because, of course, they don't care about the environment. But, like, what are we talking about? Why do these companies need even more of an ease to pass to get, like, licenses? The reality is, it's just Joe Manchin. Like, it's just his friends. It's just him and his friends and oil companies who pay him. And by the way, tomorrow is Tuesday. This is the runoff between Raphael Warnock and Herschel Walker. And my God, can we render Joe Manchin impotent in the Senate by re-electing Warnock?
Hello, somebody on that, please. Yeah, let's do exactly that. I just wonder what Manchin has on these people. Maybe he has a Hoover list, because Jay Hoover up a list on folks and he threatened them and bend them to his will. Manchin has got to have something on these people because they keep entertaining him. I used to call him the shadow president, but hell, he just flat out the president of the United States of America, the way he flexes and gets his way. And that's why progressives need to flex too right now and get their way, and go ahead and put that sick time, put that in there. Since Joe Manchin has the pure unadulterated gall to bring this back up, y'all need to go ahead and put that sick leave in that bill and hold out for the real workers. Come on, do that. Now, this has outraged environmentalists and climate campaigners quoting, Manchin's dirty deal is just as toxic and dangerous as before. The obvious fossil fuel giveaway would devastate communities and set back efforts to avoid a climate catastrophe, especially after the administration's support of phasing down fossil fuels at the Global Climate Conference. President Biden and Congress have to stop pandering, to one senator's climate killing agenda and reject any attempt to tackle this poison pill to must pass legislation. Again, the brother, he got something on them. President Joe Manchin got something on the rest of these folks. And let's put this up, a reminder that Joe Manchin's home state leads in child poverty. So the man could be fighting like hell to end child poverty, but instead he's fighting like hell for his donors. That is exactly what this brother is doing, and he has no fear of doing it. The military-industrial complex continues to get more money. We're gonna come back to Joe Manchin. We're not gonna let him off the hook here, but we rolling. The military-industrial complex continues to get more money. The military-industrial complex, it is thriving. Why? Because we got war hawks in the mix. And again, Congress answering to its donors. Check out this headline. The Pentagon fails another audit, yet Congress holds to approve. $847 billion budget. This isn't using our tax dollars wisely, said the National Priorities Project. It is robbing programs that we need, like the discontinued child tax credit that cuts child poverty in half. Francesca, sometimes I feel like we're in the Twilight Zone, but this is real. We can't even make this stuff up.
I mean, the United States is effectively the Twilight Zone at this point, right? Like, the famous quote, it'll be a great day when all schools, when education is funded and the Pentagon has to hold a bake sale to buy a bomber, right? Like that, we just want that day. And I messed that quote up, I'm sure. But look, fails an audit? We understand what that means, people. That means there is money that is unaccounted for. That means they just kind of get a bunch of our taxpayer dollars and money from the federal government, and they just go, oops, I don't know. I'm sure we bought something important, right? Oh, no, where did it go? Your weapons contractors, your friends, an $11 bottle of water, as we know happened in Iraq and Afghanistan and all the stories that came out of that. Don't get me started on the amount of waste. But do they have to answer for it? No. Right now, Republicans are freaking out about the IRS getting more money to go after wealthy people, because we know what the IRS does. They go after middle income people, poor people for not paying their taxes, because we're the ones who don't have fancy accountants to fight them.
Here it is, folks. The United States of America, the military continues to build death machines that are robbing taxpayers by the minute. Talking about robbery. This headline, millions of Americans lack adequate health coverage, but the Pentagon has a new nuclear bomb to flaunt. The ominous death machine, with its price tag of $750 million a pop, brings huge profits to Northrop Grumman, but takes our society one more step down the road of spiritual death. Peace activist Medea Benjamin said of the new B-21 Raider. Go ahead, Medea, lay it out there. And Congress seems to have an endless budget for the military, but God forbid we put money towards healthcare, education, and the basic necessities. This headline, the US spends far more on military than on education. Shame on us. These people can't be shamed. And according to Data Lab, USAspending.gov, the military budget is 11%. That's $755 billion, while spending on education is about 4%. That's $297 billion. Let's put up this tweet from the Institute for Policy Studies. The projected $847 billion as for the 2023 Pentagon budget is $45 billion more than Biden even requested. Some humans need that $45 billion alone, right? Could fund for a year. Registered nurses, public housing unit, jobs at $15 an hour, solar energy for 128 million homes. Lord have mercy on our souls. This is rotten. It is immoral as hell. And America, we need to wake up, right? We should be out on the streets for several reasons. What's happened to the rail workers, what's happening to the coal miners, what's happening to workers all across this country. And for the love of God, why the Congress continues to enrich the military industrial complex to the destruction of every other thing. We spend more money than the next 9 or 10 nations combined, and it's still not enough. At some point, we gotta say we are being complicit in our own damn demise. That is it for us today. We will be back tomorrow, and I will be on fire still. So glad to have Francesca back in the house, baby. We are blessed to have her back in the house. We love you, Francesca. And to all of you, we love you. Thank you for your support of TYT Network. You know what I want you to do? You absolutely know what I want you to do, boo. I want you to keep the faith, but more importantly, I want you to keep the fight. Until next time.